The Calgary Police Commission is pleased to announce today that Chief Constable Mark Neufeld's term has been extended until mid-2027, providing Calgary's police with stable leadership for the next 4 years. The Calgary Police Service has experienced a lot of change in the recent years, and the constant uncertainty has taken a toll on important work and on members of the service. When Chief Neufeld was appointed in 2019, he was the 5th person in 5 previous years to lead the service. Changes were already underway to address bullying and harassment within the organization, and that remained a key priority for our commission. In his first year, Chief Neufeld had to help the service navigate financial restraints as economic conditions affected funding from both the province and the City of Calgary. This was immediately followed by the challenges of policing during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the summer of 2020, Chief Neufeld was one of the first police leaders in Canada to acknowledge that systemic racism exists in policing, and he committed to take action. What has followed is 3 years of tough conversations and hard work by all members of the service to start delivering more equitable, modern, and accountable policing for Calgarians. Coming out of the pandemic, the service has faced significant staffing shortages, coupled with rising crime and social disorder resulting from the mental health and addiction crisis. Morale and employee engagement are also at all-time lows. These challenges are once again demanding innovation and changes to how we attend to policing in our city. As our commission looks ahead to the next few years, we believe that the service is coming out of these years of churn with the right direction for the future. Strong, stable leadership will ensure that the work that matters to Calgarians will continue uninterrupted. Chief Neufeld has demonstrated strong leadership and is championing many of the priorities that matter to Calgarians. Our commission is very happy to have his leadership continue for the next 4 years. I also want to take a moment to recognize that the service has not got to where it is today through Chief Neufeld's leadership alone. CPS members, both sworn and civilian, have demonstrated their commitment to our city over and over through years of challenge and change. In the face of the stressors we all felt during the pandemic, and with the added stress of constant and often unfair criticism, members went to work every day serving our community. The service is on a strong path today because of you. Your contributions are seen and valued by Calgarians, and we cannot thank you enough. I would like now to invite Chief Neufeld to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair Cornett, and thanks everybody for coming. I'm grateful for the opportunity to extend my appointment in the role of Chief Constable for the Calgary Police Service. Truthfully, though, the announcement, as the Chair referred, has little to do with me and has more to do with the excellent work that's done by the 3,000 plus men and women of the Calgary Police Service that happens day in and day out. Like all of us, our organization and the membership have been through a lot over the past several years. We remain absolutely committed to serving and protecting the citizens of Calgary. Stability and consistency in direction and priorities will actually help us to do that as we go forward. As for me, I remain committed to supporting those who do the important work. I'm committed to ensuring that our community remains a safe place and that we deal with many of the complex issues that we're dealing with today that all of you are well aware of. And I'm also committed to safeguarding the reputation of our service as well as the profession of policing as we move forward. I want to thank the CPC and City Council for their endorsement and their ongoing leadership and support of myself and the service through difficult times. We remain united around the issues of public safety and the need to provide safe, secure service for Calgarians and safe, secure public spaces. And we think it's really important to do that at a time when citizens need it the most. So with that, I'll say thank you and we'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Just some for, I guess, Sean. First of all, what were some of the factors that went into renewing the contract?
I think that I've commented on most of them. Stable leadership is critical, and there has been so much change and churn, both in the external environment, but also within the service itself and within previous leadership over the last number of years. And so committing to very good, strong leadership that's stable to carry through for the next few years was one of the very key factors. That and the fact that we have a lot of things in place, and we want those to continue.
Also with the morale concerns and issues going on.
Mhm.
Would that not suggest to you maybe if they continue to go down during his leadership, that maybe new leadership would be warranted?
I think it's important to look back over the last number of years and to look at the trend of morale, and that trend was going down over 5 years prior to that. And then when you look at the other things that have happened in the last 3 years between the pandemic, the social unrest, the moral and the difficult situation, and it's not just Calgary, it's across the country, I think that those things are being addressed. The other piece that I would add is that we understand that, you know, shortages of people on the street are there, but we've worked very hard and the recruiting is going on to make sure that we have staff shortages taken care of and moving that ahead as well. So I think with all those factors together, we will see an increase in morale, and we're working extremely hard to make sure that that happens.
Question for the chief.
Yeah.
Chief, does this reflect your own desire to continue some of the work that you started over the last few years?
Yes, for sure. When I came in, I certainly had a very clear mandate to be able to do some things. I think nobody anticipated a pandemic and the murder of George Floyd and defund the police and all the things that have happened over the last number of years. So I feel like we're beginning to get some traction on a number of very important initiatives. And so it's going to be important, I think, for that stability to keep going with that. And it's not an easy job from day to day, but I would like to see some of these things land as well, because a lot of hard work's gone into it, and I'd like to see it progress.
What kind of things are you looking to continue on? What's sort of your main focus?
Yeah, the main focus, I think, has largely been shaped, Colleen, by the four-year budget cycle as well. A lot of inputs went into that, from the employee engagement surveys, the citizen satisfaction surveys that the Commission does, council priorities with the new council. So it all kind of came together at a good time and coming out of the pandemic. A couple of things that are really important. Obviously, public safety is a huge issue, as people know right now. Our transit, our downtown, public spaces generally are a place where we're hearing people are feeling unsafe, and we're seeing some really aberrant behavior out there. And so that public safety is number one, which is frankly, the raison d'etre for police generally speaking. But for me, I think the thing that's really big for me is to look after the people that are doing the work, because it has been a very, very difficult time. As the chair spoke about, we've got an incredible amount of demand in terms of the complex issues that we're facing, and then we're facing staffing shortages, we're facing criticism and negativity, and as we yesterday we woke up again to another police officer being murdered in the country, and so we've seen 10 police officers lost in the last 9 months, I believe, and 9 of those were to violent murders. So very, very difficult environment out there, and so we need to be supporting the people that are doing the work, and I would go even farther and say supporting their families as well. In talking to the members of Beyond the Blue, the spouses group, the partners group for our members here in the service, it's a grind. It's been a very, very difficult time for family as well. So we need to be supporting them as well. But some of the initiatives that we need to continue to make progress on. Certainly human resource modernization. I think, again, with 5 chiefs and leadership groups in 5 years, for me, it took a little longer than I expected. When you say human resource modernization, it sounds simple until you get in and figure out exactly what does that require. And then we realized that in order to do what we needed to do, we're going to actually have to follow budget cycles, and we need investment and this type of thing. So, the issues that we face there are not issues that we can snap our fingers and say, these are easy fixes. These are complicated fixes. And so we're on the right path. We've had support from the Commission and support from Council to move that forward, but it does take time. We've heard loud and clear from Calgarians that they want us to evolve the crisis response model to bring in sort of a non-police response to low acuity type mental health calls and also some of the disorder calls. And so there's been a lot of work done in that regard, but again, more to do. I would say that also there's been some really good reviews and some really good work done around diversion. So there was a lot of calls, probably 30 or 40,000 recently, that we realized that we probably should not be going to. Historically, we've done that, and so now we've made some changes. We don't do those things. So as we're trying to continue to staff, and we're staffing up at full capacity, we're also looking at the demand side to see how do we take some of the pressure off of folks on the front line. But I think for me, looking after people in the organization so that they can deliver the important services to people in the community, that's a huge one, and that work will be able to continue.
Can you just touch on the human resource modernization? What does that mean for the public? How does it impact complaints that are getting sent in, the speed there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one of the pieces of that too is, so when I talk about human resource modernization, some of that is internal services. So I can tell you that our police service is fantastic at operations, investigations, and our work in the community, second to none. But I think what our Achilles heel was, and one of the challenges was with our internal services, including the HR piece. So when we talk about labor relations, human rights, this type of thing, part of the challenge was we had police officers in those roles. And so one thing that we know, even though we had good people in those roles, we changed them often. So if you think about the level of complexity that's gone into human resources and managing a complex, diverse workforce over the years, it has become very complex. So about the time people get in and start getting good at what they're doing, we move them out again. And so we never really got really good at it. We've done a full restructuring with respect to how we deliver human resources or human resources within the police service. But now it's about actually staffing up, bringing in, we've got all kinds of civilian professionals that have come in that will stay in those roles and continue to deliver those services. So those type of services won't be things that the public would necessarily access directly, but I think where it's important is the employee experience. And the fact that people actually feel better about the way that the organization runs. They feel that it's equitable. They feel they have opportunities for development and contribution. And then if they need accommodations or return to work, or if there's injuries, there's engagement all the way through that process, right from basically hire to retire. And I think once we have that, I think that'll translate to the quality of services that are delivered to Calgarians. So that's where they'll see it.
The Commission Chair, what is the mandate over these next 3 years, specifically when it comes to morale? What does the chief and the leadership team need to do to get that number up?
There is a plan that's been put into place called Pathways to Engagement for the service to look at all of the different elements. To say that there's one thing, it's not just one thing. There's many, many things. And so there's been a tremendous amount of work that's been done within the service to pull a plan together to look at the areas and really take a good hard look and listen to the feedback that's provided, to work on those things and to move it forward. So the mandate from Commission to the service is to continue that work and continue to monitor it and make sure that it's having the right effect. But it's many, many things that have provided over the years to get that input, and now it's really making a stand and focusing and making sure that the plan gets implemented.
And how does that then translate to frontline experiences for Calgarians?
I think it's back to a little bit what the chief said, that once you have a workforce that's more engaged and more comfortable and more comfortable with what they're doing and happy at work, they're going to be providing better service to people on the street, because that's where the interface is. So it's the same in any organization. If you have employees who are not happy, what they do is going to be reflected in that. And so making sure that they're engaged and happy with what's going on is critical to the experience of the community.
Who was engaged in this decision to extend Chief Neufeld's contract here? Was it frontline officers? Was it other members of the leadership team? Or was it just the Commission?
It was, excuse me, it was the Commission. We took into consideration lots of different information. So we took into consideration both the engagement surveys, the work that's been done over the last number of years, excuse me, and as well as we had a market evaluation done on salary and comparators across the country. So there was a lot of input, but the input came to the Commission.
In terms of the Commission working with the Chief and other senior leadership here, does this continuation of that leadership mean that it will be easier for Commission to implement the desires of the public and City Council?
Excuse me. Just a minute. I don't know that I would say it's going to be easier. The continuity and the consistency and the stability means that as things move forward, the partnerships that we've developed between the service and the Commission and the city have been front and center of the last couple of years, as you've probably seen. And so to have the leadership at the service remain stable, to continue to work and build relationships. The partnerships and relationships don't happen just, at the flip of a switch, and you need to work on them and build them and figure out what's working, adjust and amend and add new things. And so that ability to maintain the consistency and stability, I think, will make sure that we'll have bumps along the way for sure. But but I think that it will definitely make things more consistent and stable going forward.
Just have one quick question for the chief. So 2019, you come in, you have a game plan of what you'd like to do here, and then obviously the world changed over those 3 years. Can you talk a little bit about personally for you coming in before literally COVID and the rest of just the craziness we've had to deal with over 3 years, and then now how you had to kind of adjust that kind of plan that you might have had back in 2019 and now moving forward with all we had to deal with?
Yeah, certainly a lot there. What I would tell you is coming into the organization, when I came and interviewed for the job in 2019, I was interviewing the Calgary Police Commission probably as much as they were interviewing me. I understood what needed to be done, but the approach to doing it was what was iterative and built with the folks inside the organization, because coming into an organization that actually hadn't had an outside chief since 1995, we didn't have a history of that, so that's no easy thing in the culture, right? Obviously, nobody had anticipated a pandemic and some of the things that we've talked about that have been disruptors of everything right across the globe. But I mean, let's face it, we still had to stay focused on what we were going to do, notwithstanding responding to the pandemic and all the challenges. But I think we were able to stay focused. We talked about when we came in some things that definitely needed to be addressed. One of them was the relationship with the associations. And at that time, you'll remember there was a lot of stuff in the media, a lot of conflict in the media. We don't see that much conflict anymore. And it's not that we agree on every single thing, because of course the nature of the relationship is such that we don't and probably won't. But we've come to a place where I think there's a respectful relationship where we respect one another and the position, and I certainly respect them. And what we've agreed is that the membership wants to be in the news for the good work that they do. They don't want to be the news because of a bunch of drama that's preventable. And I think we've done a good job of actually preventing some of that. At that time, you'll remember that the Arkansas inquiry was pretty fresh. And so, again, with five leaders and leadership teams over the last 5 years, there hadn't necessarily been a lot of traction with the implementation of the recommendations from that. Justice Whitman had been in. I think there was 80 recommendations around use of force because of a spike in officer-involved shootings, and so that was sitting outstanding. So there was a number of these things. The HR modernization, we know that the bullying and harassment issue was front and center. When I did my Google search, it was front and center there, as you guys know. So these are things that I think we've been able to surmount. I can tell you Whitman recommendations are done. Today, our professional standards, I would say, I'm very proud of what we're doing there. I would say that we are second to none in the province, to the point that I'm almost concerned about it transitioning over now because we'll lose traction. But we went from having probably over 500 files backed up in professional standards. Today, there's about 150. And the timelines for resolving investigations have gone down substantially, such that we've heard from the members, like, this is much better than it was in terms of the timelines and the stress and pressures. So I think there's been a lot of great progress, notwithstanding the pandemic. But I think the number one thing was being able to come in and having that little bit of time, say from June 2019 to when the pandemic hit, to at least get around during that period of time, first stampede, meet the members, meet the community. And the members were fantastic, and the community was fantastic in that short period of time. When I look back, if I wouldn't have had that period of time, this would have been very difficult, because we're driving big changes, we're reacting to huge disruptions, and if we were trying to do that without any sort of relationships and stuff like that, I think it would have been a very, very hard row to hoe. So a lot of work gone in, a lot of credit to the membership, a lot of credit to this great community for being able to welcome myself and my family with open arms. And like I say, we've been through a lot together, but there's still a lot to do, and we're going to continue to do it.
Any last questions?
Chief, can I just ask you about this afternoon you're going to be giving out some badges for new recruits. We won't be able to do that today, so I'll ask you now.
Fortunate.
How does that affect, obviously, the province's promise to get new boots on the ground and 150 new police on the ground? How important is that to get these guys trained, and what are the next steps to continue to fill those roles?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So these classes that we've planned and that we're hiring this year are really filling vacancies that existed for retirements and attrition and that type of thing. So the recent announcement by the province for the 50 additional members, those will be recruited sort of down the line. That's not something we've realized just yet or even have the funding for. I think we're working through, what is going to be the fine print in terms of, what the intent is of that funding. And so the agreements will be worked out. I would just say that that's something that we're thankful for. I think that those are going to be resources that are going to be very helpful to bolster the ranks of the police service. But we'll continue to work with the province to see sort of what attaches to that and get them out on the street as quick as we can. But that's not an overnight process by no means.